A retired DARPA program manager thinks he knows why nobody ever silenced the whistleblowers. His name is John Blitch, a former Green Beret who ran research programs at the Pentagon's own invention agency. He believes 50 years of reverse engineering built a shield of sorts that now protects people from being abducted. And he believes that's why Elizondo and Grush are still alive. Because a secret that finally works no longer needs anyone's silence. I want to tell you why that claim got my attention. I've been in this space for a few decades now, and for most of that time, the abduction phenomenon was everywhere. Books, hotlines, support groups, Art Bell, great researchers like John Mack and others dedicating whole careers to it. And somewhere over the past decade or so, it seems to have gone quiet. It's just my personal observation from watching this field, so take it for whatever it's worth. But I don't believe for 1 minute the abduction simply stopped. I believe the reporting faded, and nobody ever really explained why. Blitch's claim lands right in the middle of that silence. If he's right about this, the quiet so many of us have noticed is the direct result. Somebody built a defense, and the defense is working, which makes the story about you, your family, and whether someone has been standing guard over your bedroom ceiling without ever asking your permission. And there's a bigger problem buried in his words. If Blitch is right, one piece of UFO lore you already know, decades of it, means something completely different than you think it does. Listen to how he puts it himself.
I think the reason why Lou Elizondo is still alive and the reason why Dave Grush is still alive is because the reverse engineering that has occurred over the past half a century or so, I think it is successful enough now that we being the military-industrial complex, can protect a fairly significant portion of the populace from these abduction activities. Unfortunately, kind of like I mentioned with the killer bees, there's some collateral damage. We may be shooting down some of the good guys as well as some of the bad guys. And that's where we have to be very, very careful that we don't end up going the killer bee route rather than being honeybees in the galaxy.
Before anything else, I want to be upfront about what you just watched. I think that 1 minute of video is among the most profound things said in this space in years. And it's going to sail right past most people because of how quietly it arrived. So who is this guy? Because the claim only matters if the man making it matters. John Blitch is a retired lieutenant colonel with 5 command tours across nuclear artillery, special operations, and hostage rescue, and reportedly served with Delta Force. He ran advanced research programs at DARPA until his retirement in 2002. After September the 11th, his search and rescue robots crawled through the rubble of the World Trade Center. His robots later searched the caves of Tora Bora, hunting bin Laden. He's now a senior research scientist at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base with a doctorate in cognitive psychology. And I want to be straight with you here. He has never claimed to work inside a reverse engineering program. It's a speculation from a credentialed insider, and he frames it himself as what he thinks. But men with this resume rarely think out loud about alien defense grids. And the DARPA chapter of his resume matters more than people realize. This is the agency the Pentagon created to invent the future, the place that gave us the early internet and GPS. Program managers there see fragments of things the rest of us will never get to see. Blitch ran a project on cephalopod camouflage, octopus-style invisibility, and it was abruptly canceled. He has suggested his work may have brushed up against stealth technology that was already classified. He's felt the edge of the curtain. Now, I want you to stop and ask yourself something uncomfortable. If someone could shield you from being abducted, but telling you would mean admitting the threat was real all along, would you actually want to know? That question is why his killer bee analogy deserves a closer look. Killer bees exist because researchers bred African and European honeybees, and the aggressive hybrids escaped. Something engineered for a good reason slipped its leash and started hurting things it was never meant to touch. That's the picture Blitch paints of our shield. He warns that we may be shooting down some of the good guys, along with the bad guys, and that humanity has to choose whether it becomes the honeybee of the galaxy or the killer bee. Recently, I wrote in my newsletter that there are things a government structurally cannot admit. You cannot announce a threat you have no defense against. Every official denial, every absurd explanation, every weather balloon might trace back to that one brutal rule. Silence was the only option on the table. Which brings us to the piece of lore I promised you. Think about every crash retrieval story you've ever heard, from Roswell to the modern whistleblowers. 80 years of craft supposedly falling out of our skies. We always chalk them up to accidents, malfunctions, maybe a lucky radar strike. Now, run those same stories through Blitch's claim. And I want to stress that I'm describing the implication of what he said, nothing proven. A working shield, by definition, spends its entire existence shooting things down. The modern whistleblowers describe entire programs built around retrieving downed craft, and almost nobody asks the obvious question. Why do these things keep falling out of the sky over the one planet that supposedly can't touch them? 80 years of crashes might be a record of kills. Ours. And by Blitch's own warning, some of what we shot down may have been the good guys. Hold that next to everything you thought you knew about the cover-up. For decades, the assumption in this community has been simple. They lied to us, and lying is bad. Blitch offers a second reading of the exact same facts. They lied to us because they have been protecting us, and they could never say so until the protection actually worked. Both readings explain the secrecy and the denials, and both explain the quiet that followed. And think about what that means for disclosure itself. For years, I argued the government could never tell us about any of this because they had no way to protect us from it. So maybe it's no accident that the hearings and the whistleblowers arrived just as the abduction stories went quiet. Maybe we are being told now because, for the first time in 80 years, they can finally afford for us to know. And here is the strange place that leaves me. Those two ideas might be true at the same time. People who buried the truth may be the same people who spent 50 years building the wall that made the abduction stories fade. Every ridiculed witness, every sealed record, every career quietly destroyed might sit on one side of a ledger, and on the other side, families who were never taken and will never know how close it came. I have no way to weigh that ledger, and honestly, nobody else does either. A handful of people somewhere might, and they are the only ones who know whether the trade was worth it. The quiet decade I've watched with my own eyes reads completely different now. Maybe nothing ever stopped. Maybe something finally started working. So, which answer would you rather live with? A government that deceived you for 80 years? Or a government that guarded you for 80 years and decided you could never know? But that's just what I think. What do you think? Subscribe. There's way more to come. Check out frayingreality.com for links to our socials and the free newsletter, where we go deeper on stories when a video or social post just can't cut it. Remember, I am 100% human. Are you? Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.